In my most recent video, I speak about the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. In case you missed it, I'll leave a link for you here as well as in the description box below. And goal number 2 of 17 is zero hunger. So let's talk about food. What do you understand by the word food? We might think of this as an inane or foolish question. We all know what food means, right? But in this video, I'd like us to pause for a moment and take a closer look at what food actually means and the ways in which we nurture ourselves in order to lead a happy, healthy life. We'll be looking at how, despite our perceptions, everything is interconnected, as well as how our habits make decisions for us and keep us in a state of autopilot. So if you want to learn some food-related vocabulary in the context of nutriment, wholesomeness, happiness, health, and well-being, which is, by the way, another topic I'll be diving into soon. So make sure you click that subscribe button and invite the bell to be notified whenever I upload new material. Stay with me as we discuss and explore this surprisingly deep and fascinating topic of food. If we haven't met yet, my name is Tanya Meyer, and I'm an English as a foreign language teacher to adults, specializing in mindfulness practices to help bring clarity, understanding, and joy to your English language learning, acquisition, and use. To learn more about the correlation between mindfulness practices and being fluent and proficient in English, I'll leave a link for you in the description box below. Okay, why don't we start with this definition? We can say that food is any substance consumed to provide nutritional support for an organism. Food contains essential nutrients such as carbohydrates, fats, protein, vitamins, and minerals, and is usually of plant, animal, or fungal origin. So up to now, this is what we all take for granted, right? We don't look into or investigate any further because there doesn't seem to be any need. As we say in English, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But here's the thing, it is broken. We might not see it in our everyday lives, but there are many indicators pointing towards the need for us humans to reconsider our consumption patterns and habits. Consumption refers to anything we buy, but also everything we eat and everything we expose our senses to. We tend to think of ourselves and things as separate from each other, and this having nothing to do with that. But in fact, everything is interconnected. Take this piece of paper, for example. We might see this piece of paper as having a separate existence. Here it is, and it isn't physically attached to anything. But if we take a closer look, we see clearly that this piece of paper didn't just appear out of nowhere. Before it was a piece of paper, it was part of a tree. And that tree didn't have a separate existence either. In order for the tree to be there, it needed the earth and the minerals from the earth. It needed the sun. It needed the clouds and the rain. And so when we look at this piece of paper, we can see the sun, the clouds, the rain, and the earth. We can also see the tree cutter and all the tree cutter's ancestors and future generations, as well as everyone involved in the tree to paper making process. When it comes to food, it's easy to make a connection between, for example, a tomato or an apple and its origins. We buy them at the supermarket or street market in their original shape, straight from the earth. When someone tells you that they eat mainly whole foods, this is what they mean. They eat plant-based food with little or no processing between origin and plate. Beans, lentils, and chickpeas can be bought in dry form, again with little or no processing, or in a tin or can where they've been pre-cooked and where seasoning and conservatives or preservatives have been added for a long shelf life. Fruit, vegetables, legumes, and fungi are a gift from the universe. They provide us with all the nutrients we need to survive, and much more than that. But to summarize up to now, we can say that there's a straightforward route between this and this. Having said that, there are some routes which aren't as straightforward. And this is where it starts to get murky. This is where we tend to lose clarity. Take, for example, a supermarket loaf of bread. We see and understand this as food, but this loaf of bread doesn't grow straight from the earth in this shape or format, and so it isn't a whole food. It's made of wheat, yeast, and water, and can be either homemade or mass-produced. In other words, the route between these and this is somewhat longer, and we need to make an effort to see what this loaf of bread is made of. Wheat is a plant, a food crop. Yeast is a member of the fungus kingdom, and water is inorganic, that is, not derived from living matter. Based on this understanding, we can make an informed decision as to whether we want to buy this product or not. Now, when it comes to livestock or farmed animals, and by farmed animals, I'm speaking mainly about cows, pigs, and chicken, the route between this and this, or this and this, is something that we don't really want to see. We cover it over. Even when we know what it is, we know what happens. And we understand, at least intellectually, that it's a route filled with suffering for sentient beings. Now, this word sentient ultimately comes from the Latin verb sentire, which means to feel. A few English-related words are sentiment and sentimental, which have to do with emotions, sensual, which relates more to physical sensations, and the trio of assent, consent, and dissent, which involve one's expression of agreement or disagreement in the case of dissent, in thought and feeling with another. I'll leave a link in the description box below to all the articles I'm mentioning in this video, including a BBC piece about meat and dairy farmers who are going vegan in the UK and the reasons they give for their choices. Statistics show that keeping livestock, and I've filmed another video showing the detrimental impact that keeping livestock has on the environment, which I'll leave a link for here as well as in the description box below, is a huge contributor to climate change. We tend to think mainly of energy, burning fossil fuels, but actually animals need to consume a great deal of plants and crops and water. According to an infographic from downtoearth.org, livestock uses a whopping 45% of the Earth's total land. And yet 820 million people are hungry in the world. Many of us might have thought about or even attempted to go vegetarian or vegan in light of this information, but then give up, because without a deep commitment to finding ways of reducing suffering in the world or refraining from contributing to suffering as much as we're able, it's a challenge to change our habitual thinking patterns. This is where mindfulness practices come into the picture, because we spend a lot more of our waking hours on autopilot, doing what we've always done, thinking what we've always thought, and allowing ourselves to be carried by habitual thinking patterns instead of exercising sovereignty over our thoughts and actions. Mindfulness is concrete training for our mind. It's a way of bringing clarity and deeper understanding into our life. If you're finding this video interesting so far, please let me know in the comments below that you enjoy learning English through topics of global interest such as this. And if you're thinking, yes, well, that's all very interesting, but there's no way I'd go vegetarian or vegan just like that, either because you don't want to or because you just wouldn't know where to start or how to go about it, then trust me, I hear you, because I was you not so long ago. I stumbled upon mindfulness practices for reasons that I felt were completely unrelated to the topic of food, and I simply enjoyed the sense of well-being that the practice offered. I'd get together with a miscellaneous group of people on Wednesday afternoons near where I lived in the UK, and I loved the smell of incense as I walked into the building and the peace and calm of the meditation hall. We'd enjoy tea, biscuits, and small talk during a 20-minute break between two sittings. But when the guide started talking about being vegetarian, not smoking or drinking, I just couldn't see the connection and thought, well, that doesn't apply to me. Or, well, that's an opinion that I don't need to listen to. And that was fine. I wasn't kicked out of the meditation community because I didn't agree with what they were saying. There was space for me and I was still welcome. But you see, the seed had been planted and it needed time to ripen. That time came when I went on a spiritual retreat many years later, and instead of listening to someone talk about vegetarianism or veganism, the retreat itself was vegan, meaning that for 7 consecutive days, I deeply enjoyed a wide variety of breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, lovingly prepared by monastic men and women. And I understood through experience, and not just the intellect, that it is indeed possible to consume in such a way that is delicious and nourishing for both body and mind, and that reduces the suffering of living beings. The experience of tasting delicious food in such a variety of ways, and the calm, joyous, and spacious days with talks about kindness, compassion, understanding, deep looking, and joy, all came together for me during that week. And when I returned home, I realized that I really wanted to live a wholesome life, one in which I can contribute to the happiness of others through my chosen profession, which is the teaching of English as a foreign language to adults. So I hope you find this kind of video and topic useful. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're ready to take your progress with your English skills into your own hands and become more autonomous as you work towards proficiency, make sure that you pick up a copy of my free guide, How to Revolutionize Your English, 8 Steps for Success. These are very simple steps that you can put into practice straight away. So that's it for today, and I'll see you in the next one, where I'll be speaking about well-being. Remember to invite the bell to be notified when I upload a new video. See you then. Bye for now.